Everyone told me to play Resident Evil 6, and I understand why. Resident Evil is one of the series I talk about on this channel. I regularly talk about the original trilogy and the RE1 remake. I like RE4 a lot, and RE7 kind of. I highly praise the RE2 remake and RE4 remake, and I dragged Village and RE3 remake through the dirt. But I never talk about RE5 and RE6, and that's for good reason. RE5, I played about 6 hours co-op with my sister when it came out, and then I just stopped. I didn't like it. I found the Hollywood action and over-the-top set pieces to be too much. It didn't have the horror of RE4, it felt like it just had the action. It looked like a Michael Bay movie, even in the high contrast colors of the late 2000s, and I decided to abandon it. So why the hell would I ever pick up RE6? That's right, I never played it. It's the only mainline series title I didn't play. The previews didn't show anything that appealed to me. I saw GameSpot's review where they gave it a 4.5 out of 10, and I said, wow, that looks like crap, no thank you. People tell me it's beyond horrible, it must be seen to be believed. Others tell me it's not so bad. Some even say it's an underrated title that's actually a lot of fun. I didn't know who to believe, so I just went in trying to be as open as I could. You never know what you're gonna like, so maybe there's something here. And good lord, the opening 10 minutes are some of the worst I've seen. The first things RE6 wants you to do are walking through scripted events and doing pointless QTEs. And that's a pretty honest way to start things off, because the game is full of both. Coming from 2012, RE6 feels like the peak of this kind of game design, where studios were favoring spectacle and fake interaction over their gameplay. They saw the popularity of RE4 with its occasional and innovative QTE moments and cutscenes, and God of War's success integrating QTEs into execution moves and occasional scripted moments, and they just ran with it. Every game had to have these things, whether they benefited the game or not. And in RE6, they definitely do not benefit it. Oh man, we're starting off negative right away. With 4 characters to choose from, with their own chapters, I picked Leon on veteran difficulty. The opening hour of Leon's campaign is a massive slog. It is the most Resident Evil of the 4, being more slow-paced for good chunks of it. But just because it's slow doesn't mean it's as good as a true Resident Evil game like the originals or RE2 remake or something like that. You're just moving forward along a linear path, which is quite uninteresting. You're not coming across anything you want to check out. The controls and camera are clumsy, and the action just isn't very satisfying. I think this is where that annoying character swaying originated that still exists in RE games today, where turning around sometimes has your character running in this mini circle that feels completely unnatural. The camera zooms in super close to the character, which largely does not serve the action, since it's so constant and tends to put you in situations where you're surrounded and need your peripheral vision. And the guns, that might be the worst part. They feel awful. They feel like pea shooters, and half the time it feels like your bullets aren't doing anything. No, that's not the worst thing. The worst thing is the inventory screen. You're unable to pause the game at any time because of the co-op nature of it, even if you're playing single player. So you're mixing herbs and cycling through weapons in real time only. And God, I don't even know how to explain how these inventory screens work. One key opens the weapon menu, another opens an equipment menu. You can't actually use health items from the health item menu. It's only for mixing and equipping. And then you have to transfer health items to storage after preparing them so you can hit another button to use the health item. It's so unnecessarily complicated, and I stumbled my way through it every time. Even the game option menus are indecipherable. I don't know what they were attempting here, but they failed. Each character has a different layout to the game's options menu, which is a decision I will never understand. And even when I set the camera to the lowest sensitivity with my mouse at the lowest DPI, the camera spins around way too fast, making the characters feel awful to steer. God, is this script all over the place or what? I can't help it. This game has my mind in a blender and I can't think straight. I will say that the action started to come together for me a bit once I stopped trying to play it like the RE2 remake, and instead tried to play it like a souped up RE4, staggering into melee QTE and mashing melee when close to enemies. That seemed to be where most of the real action is focused, since shooting feels so bad. And I will say, engaging with the game more this way led to a lot less frustration and a bit more fun. I kinda started to get into it for a while. I even liked this part in the subway. I thought it was really cool to see the zombies' shadows cast by lamps in the distance, and the speeding train flying by as I shot them. I genuinely started enjoying the game for a bit. Then I got to the cemetery, fighting off waves of annoying bad guys while waiting for a guy to open a door, and then dodging arrows while disabling statues, and this stupid part where you gotta point the light at things, and then this annoying boss fight. It was losing me again. By the time I got through the underground lab section and the minecart section and the really pathetic boss fight, and I saw Ada Wong being born from goo, I said, yeah, I don't think so. I think 2 chapters is enough. Let's check out Chris. By the way, I don't care what's happening. There's nothing this game could do to make me care about the story or characters. I haven't cared about Resident Evil's story since Wesker came back to life. So Chris's campaign actually starts in a clever way. As you make your way out to the infected city, you're greeted by news reporters all up in your face, in real time. I thought that was a really nice touch. Since I'd already gotten the hang of combat from Leon's campaign, the first chapter of Chris went pretty smoothly. The pacing was appropriate for the action the game delivers, and I started to get a bit hopeful. But it didn't last long. Even before the first chapter ended, I grew tired of the constant action. Because honestly, it's just not that interesting. It has its moments, but it feels like it's the same thing repeating over and over. Big, loud, and dumb. Explosions, yelling, getting knocked down, waiting for your partner to pick you up. I dumped some points into my skill tree because why not, I guess, and I loaded up chapter 2, which was more of the same. And after a while, I encountered a terrible PC issue, where sometimes when you minimize the game, something I do a lot as I play because I run multiple monitors, I'm taking notes, I'm recording, etc., the game just goes black. You can't pull up the menu, you can't even drag another window onto the monitor. It just goes black. Once you go... It happened several times with RE6, and when it happened this time, it sent me back a significant amount of time, because the game's checkpoints don't actually save your progress. There are autosaves and there are checkpoints. Checkpoints only apply when you're in the game. If you leave the game and come back, it goes back to the last autosave. So the game bugged out and reset my progress essentially. And I said, nope, not repeating all that. On to the next character, Jake. I definitely wasn't going to pick Sherry, because why would I want to see little Sherry Birkin grown up into a soldier wielding machine guns? No one asked for that. And wow, what a terrible mission. It's like I wasn't even doing anything. Running to avoid a helicopter is the majority of the opening sections. Holding up to run away. Holding down to run away. QTEs. Auto jumping. Finally, I got to this part where you're fighting the standard giant dude with a thing on his back, and I had to distract him so my buddies could disarm anti-air turrets so military bomber planes could come in. You know, just the kind of thing you want to see in a Resident Evil game. And then I had to tear this protective piece off a giant's back and I didn't know how. Then I stunned him and finally made my way to the second floor, but I missed my chance to jump on him. And I was low on ammo and I said, nope, done with this shit. Next character, which brings me to Ada. Though to me, this is not Ada. This looks like a white lady to me, so I'm gonna call her Judy. I started Judy's mission, and literally within 10 seconds, I was smashing a guy's head against the wall, and his head exploded. My eyes rolled back into my head, and I knew I was gonna hate this. There's a stealth element to this mission, but it's still the same thing. The action is all the same, and at this point, I had completely lost interest. Just like Jake, I couldn't finish the first mission. I became utterly fed up with the entire presentation, and I said, I'm out! I'm out. This has been one of the most obnoxious gaming experiences I've ever had. I'm done. The guns don't feel good, the camera is awful, the game even forces you to look at stuff while you're fighting, which is just so bad. The inventory is a mess, the menus are poorly designed, the QTEs and scripted events are everywhere, the constant action is mind-numbing. I just can't do it anymore. Mayo, you didn't give it a chance. Fuck you, I am out. I'm fucking out. I'm glad I finally got to see for myself how much of a disaster this game is. I suppose I can see the appeal of stupid over-the-top fun while you're playing co-op, sure. If you love it for the schlocky action and chaos, fine. I'm not judging anyone who loves it, I love some bad games too. But this game was pretty bad to me. I don't care in the slightest how much of it I missed by quitting early. You couldn't pay me to continue. Well, you could. I'll finish RE6 for $2,000, how about that? Thank you for watching this episode of Everyone Told Me to Play. I really don't like when this series goes negative. I've found some really cool games through these recommendations, and it's unfortunate when I end up playing something I don't like. Better luck next time, I suppose. Later.